Oh, I did. Good morning, everybody. Just turned on. I'll try to go short. I wasn't going to do like a rollout today, but I decided, well, I just made the teaching video. I completed it and even added like the links today, and that's going to go up tomorrow. That's Kings chapter 7. And I also had a little video with my friend Gary, who was in the hospital for a couple of weeks. I took him to the hospital. He looked very bad. And yesterday when I was helping Claire and Crow and I saw some of my friends, I said, man, that looks like Gary. I was taking Claire to HEB. And then she had a lady donated some food. And so I had it in my car. It was like a donation to help one of the ministry ladies. So I did an update. But then I thought maybe I'll do a little bit. As I made all my links just now, so I did like YouTube links and WordPress links, and then I did Vimeo. Now those are all of the media links. Why do I have all these little sites? Today as I uploaded, this happens every now and then. Somebody hacks into my YouTube site. I don't know who it is, but it doesn't always happen. But every now and then I upload to YouTube, and then when I publish the videos on YouTube, it'll say these links are all private. So I normally just go to settings and then switch to public. But this time I couldn't get into YouTube. My server was down or whatever. Now, whether it's just in the normal way of things, but this has happened before. But these videos are just teaching videos. But then I figured, let me comment a little bit today, because I didn't do the news. I might take some rides. Look, Alex Jones is a YouTube media guy, conspiracy type guy, and him and Glenn Beck, who is out of Dallas now. Glenn Beck's based out of Dallas. They kind of have like a media war going on. Alex Jones' site is called InfoWars. Now, I've linked sometimes little things from Alex Jones, but when I linked some of his links, I always said, I don't agree with everything on his site, because he has this thing about the Sandy Hook shooting. But now Megyn Kelly, the former Fox lady, is going to interview Alex Jones. I think it's still coming up on her new show. The whole media thing that goes on, this is an example. Why do I have all those sites? Everything you heard me speak about when I do talk about local issues and all. One of my sites, which is WordPress, those sites, that site has links, for those who are not familiar, where people can download the link and they have those videos on their own. They keep them in their own possession. Most like teaching sites, meaning ministries and all, they usually have it where you can view a video, like a teaching. The various churches I visit, you could view. I'm going to go back to Real Life Church pretty soon. And I like the churches and ministries that actually have their teachings online. Most do that today. But often, if you want to personally possess the video, meaning you download the link and you have personal possession of it, normally you got to pay for that. But you could view it for free. But all of my links, most of them, people have already taken them. Meaning, if all of my sites went down, if somebody hacked into all of my sites, a lot of those things, people already have them. It doesn't make a difference. I mean, I don't want my sites hacked, but it doesn't make a difference because they personally have them. Look, Bin Laden, back in the day of Bin Laden, the way he was doing a lot of his stuff was they were doing it all from flash drives, thumb drives, and they were passing information. But the whole media thing today, talking about, I find it interesting. We had the shooting. I'll do some of this. We had the shooting at the baseball practice. Congress, they did the game, I think, yesterday. Annually, they do a baseball game between the Democrats and Republicans. Most of you know this is a very big story the last few days. Some person that was radicalized by the media, make no mistake about it. The liberal media who printed articles that Trump is going, his decision to pull out of Paris is going to destroy humanity. There was one article. The liberal media went on. We knew this was going to happen, but when the Trump care said we're going to make changes to Obamacare, there were reports on how many children, the direct murder of children by Trump's decisions. Look, when Obamacare was established, there were some hard-working people who lost their insurance because they were kicked off out of employer plans. Even former President Bill Clinton said that. You could have found people who died because of Obamacare. The one VA doctor that I did go see, because I had to, they used to send me, you got to come in at least once. And I tell him I don't want to get checks for anything. But he told me, he was a nice guy, but he kind of said he's going to quit. He was a foreign guy, my VA doctor. He said, oh, I don't know his position. He was funny, that man. But maybe Indian man. But he said, oh, Obamacare's destroyed everything. Look, okay, you could have gone out. So the media, this man who obviously did wrong, traveled to Virginia where they're doing the baseball game and shot. And he asked, are there Democrats, Republicans? Okay, obviously you had the Kathy Griffin with Trump's head. You have the Shakespeare in the Park in New York City where you see me do videos every now and then. They have the Trump figure in the Shakespeare in the Park, and they're murdering Trump at the end of the play. So I thought, how long will it be before the media somehow blames this on Republicans? Some of the irresponsible coverage, the first day, the media didn't. They figured, well, we better be careful before we try to turn this around. But then I saw on NBC News, I believe, they talked about it. They said, look how everyone's now getting along. I'll comment on that too. And then they showed all of the coverage of the campaign where Trump supporters maybe hit somebody. But there were also videos of radical left-wing Bernie Sanders people who were also violent during the previous campaign, this recent campaign. But they showed the Trump ones. And they basically said, in so many words, have the Republicans and Trump caused the shooting of the Republicans by a liberal Democrat who was a Bernie Sanders supporter. Then the New York Times managed to get Sarah Palin into it about it. So they're still doing it. They're still doing it. On the leaks. We did realize that James Comey, he gave his testimony, and we also had Attorney General Sessions give his. But Comey admitted that he leaked his own memos to a close friend of his, and he told his close friend, get these memos, leak them to the New York Times. Even though Comey was not supposed to do that, he did that because he felt he needed protection. He needed to get the word out. Bob Mueller, who a lot of people praise, Newt Gingrich praise, he's the special prosecutor investigator now. He seemed to have been a close friend of Comey. And Comey said, I did all this like we wanted to get a special prosecutor. So the question then is, we're going after Reality Winner from Kingsville for the leak to The Intercept. Do you know I have connections to The Intercept? Glenn Greenwald, who's now the Intercept, this media thing, sort of like, not WikiLeaks, but Glenn Greenwald. I wrote about the drones in Afghanistan a few years ago. I was on one of the sites. I think Glenn Greenwald used to be with The Guardian, which does pretty good. I read all the media things, liberal and conservative. But I wrote some comments, and Greenwald agreed with me, and I posted some things. But what are we doing? We have people in our own intelligence agencies, James Comey and others, who are admitting that they leak things for the purpose, even if the leaks are illegal, we feel we have to do it for the purpose of exposing corruption. The same U.S. government goes after Andrew Snowden, Julian Assange, Reality Winner, for doing the same types of things. But what they're leaking is not little in-house, Comey's mad at Trump. They're doing it because, particularly in the Snowden case, the NSA, our own government, was indeed illegally collecting mass data on U.S. citizens, which the courts have actually ruled that our own intelligence agencies, Clapper and all those guys, that they were breaking the law. And Clapper even lied to Congress because you're not allowed to collect mass data on U.S. citizens. So our own government's going after anybody, but yet those that are heading up those departments, FBI, Comey, former leader, he's doing the same thing. Okay, now where Trump tweets out, wow, they found nothing on collusion with Russia, now they're going after obstruction of justice. The whole thing on obstruction of justice. Trump, as a non-politician, he did tell Comey, which he shouldn't have. I wish you can let Mike Flynn Flynn was already fired, General Flynn. But you kind of could see that Trump actually felt like he needed to defend Comey, not to get to act like there were crimes. Attorney General Sessions, he did fairly well before Congress. He did his little talk. But he said, I served this government. And he says, you have actually put out in the public that somehow Trump and his people, though Trump's running for president and he's got various people with him, that the media has put out this narrative that as soon as they had the chance, Trump, the Republicans, Attorney General, they just immediately began getting together with foreign governments, colluding to break the law. That they were meeting with these governments saying, yes, let's break the laws of the U.S. Let's go after to break the laws of the U.S. And Sessions said that those innuendos, which he's correct, those things are causing people. This man that shot at the baseball game, look, he was a liberal, he was a Bernie Sanders supporter. Of course, the media is to blame for that because they've built a narrative that not only is the president, U.S. president, engaged in all types of corruption to bring the country down, meaning to destroy the fabric of democracy, but that his own leaders, Sessions and others, all they have been doing is trying to undermine the U.S. That's the narrative. And that they're running around hiding all of the collusion. I saw 2 interviews with Oliver Stone. I like Oliver Stone, you see. I could listen to it. But Oliver Stone did some Vladimir Putin interviews. And it's going to be released like all the interviews, but it was very interesting. And Oliver Stone was on Democracy Now!, very liberal news with Amy Goodman out of New York. Democracy Now! Stone kind of shared and said, there's a demonization of Putin. And the interviews are very interesting. And then, believe it or not, he was on the conservative Tucker Carlson from Fox News. But it's important to listen to because some of the things you hear me say about Putin, what did they have on Democracy Now!, John, about all that's going on? This was a case I did not hear about, but it was true. There was a pastor, some state, that wanted to target ISIS. The pastor wanted to target ISIS. And I guess, again, the narrative in this country, whether it's on the left or the right, drove this pastor to make a plan to target ISIS, and supposedly he was collecting guns and all. Now, whether he was going to go after just Muslims in general, I didn't catch the whole thing. But he was convicted, this pastor. He was going to also run for Congress at one point, and they just sent him to prison. But now Amy Goodman said, the judge from the bench said to this man who just got convicted, he said, you're not a monster. You did some good things in your life. Meaning, I guess he had a history of being a good man. And then Amy Goodman said that sort of in a criticism that we now need, sort of like one of the threats in society is for individual white American Christian pastors targeting ISIS. could be like one of the new narratives. One of the threats in this country is we cannot have individual pastors targeting ISIS. So maybe they're going to do a thing on how we could have certain protections for ISIS. Now, I know I'm giving you an extreme here, but that's kind of that was part of the living narrative. So just today, I'll do this one on Facebook. Also, my Facebook uploads were going slow, so I just wanted people to know. I have, because of my WordPress site, a lot of people have all of this. They have all this material. It's not dependent upon, one of my sites. Okay, people have this. I made this free for many years when people downloaded all these things. They have personal possession of the property. If I were going to teach a little, the psalm I read last night, but it's a good psalm. I even wrote a verse, painted one from this psalm. But it's Psalms 40. But look, I waited patiently for the Lord, and he inclined unto me and heard my cry. Then there was a process. Then he brought me up out of a horrible pit, out of the miry clay, famous verse, and set my feet upon a rock and established my goings. And then he put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise unto our God. Many will see it and fear. So now there was a process here. You see this also in the history of the church, the people of God. I just prayed for all the people of God. I did my intercession earlier. Process is, first you're in a pit. Some people in society have experienced official oppression. Let's go get them. Let's do all we can, even if people have experienced police oppression, beatings, and assaults and murders in some of the other cases. But then it says they waited. They waited patiently. Then God took them out of the pit. Then he established their goings. And then he set their feet upon a rock. And then we have later on in the chapter a famous messianic prophecy, which I've taught a lot. Sacrifice and offering thou wouldest not, but a body hast thou prepared me. In burnt offering and sacrifice you were not pleased. But then said I, lo, I come in the volume of the book. It is written of me. It's a messianic prophecy of Jesus, meaning this: after the trials, and then you rise out, God establishes you on a foundation. And then he allows you to have a form. Then in the volume of the book, it is written. There will be a whole bunch of communication going forth. And so there's no need to physically fight your enemies, because in the volume of the book, it is written. And I like that. I didn't want to cover right now the Bloodsworth case. He was a Marine who was accused of raping and murdering a 9-year-old girl in Maryland back in 1984. And his name was Bloodsworth. He is the first case of someone on death row in the U.S. who was exonerated after 9 years in prison on DNA evidence. But he was a young Marine, recently married, and it's a case I've just been watching. And after he was exonerated, now he just basically fights against death penalty, because he said he was number 6 on the list to be executed. There were 5 before him that got executed. He was just waiting to be executed. Finally, through a series of events, even through a dream his mother had, they finally found the evidence. They had evidence of DNA, but they couldn't find it in the courthouse. They said they lost it. It was in the judge's closet. Then the DNA was somebody else. But God, it says, so besides us, and this man Bloodsworth, the former Marine, says, as I watched the documentary last night and night before, he said, this is now my purpose. He said, I would have preferred to have a different life. He says, but now I have a voice. But one interesting thing, I have another post, teaching post, coming up that's going to be called Angels Came. And then I made a quick little video right after the teaching post. You'll get them both in a few days, called See the Angels. Very interesting. It had to do with the dream and the flame. That's coming up in a few days. But this Bloodsworth, he was in prison for 9 years, and his mother would come visit him and his father. But his mother, I'm sure she was a Christian woman. His mother began telling him, I've had dreams of you, son, that you're going to be released and you're going to be exonerated. Now, I talk about dreams in these other videos. And his mother said, but I will die before this happens. And he visited his mom when she was on her deathbed. He was still in prison, but they let him visit the mom. Oh, he went to her funeral. She died. But then when he left the funeral, he remembered the words that his mother spoke to him throughout his life. Stand up, son. You have a voice. And he said in some strange way, and I'm not really sure if this man is a Christian at all, but you could tell his mom was. And he said, but her dreams, he said, maybe they were premonitions. See, he doesn't have the whole insight of what Scripture teaches. He said, but somehow the words my mother spoke to me, when I was young, I began standing up, and he said, I saw somehow her words would come to pass. After she died, a few months later, they found the DNA and he was released. So God is working in society. All that I write and speak about and comment, it's not dependent upon me here. I walked past Trump Tower last year. So you know Trump, he's got that whole place bugged, and plus they bugged him, so they might have Trump in those secret recordings of Comey, might have me talking about Corpus Christi. Okay, so just the Psalm 40 will be the one. If we do any more today, we'll see. This will be a little rollout. Okay?